Hi. So I'm not anticipating a large group for this, which is great. So if you were able to put in the chat, maybe your name or what type of company you're representing, just so we can kind of tailor a little bit with that. And then this is very much going to be a Q&A led thing. So we have like our own, obviously spiel information session around what we're doing and what this is. And then we really do want to spend a lot of time just answering your questions. Um, so first and foremost, hello, I am Nicole Hendrix. I'm the executive director, co-founder of the BRIC Foundation. BRIC focuses on getting women and people from historically excluded groups into entertainment, media, and tech. The BRIC Summit is our once a year time where we gather everyone and we do way too much concurrent programming, but there's something for everyone. So thank you for being here today. All day long, you will see programming for, whether it's students, emerging talent, educators, and then a lot of our employers are here today. Thank you so much. And one of the things about the summit is there is like a theme of action and education that happens throughout. So the apprenticeship program that we're here to talk about today actually came out of our third BRIC Summit as a solution from the participants that attended. And then we spent a year building it with a lot of those people that continue to do year-round work with us. So what is an apprenticeship program? Apprenticeship is not a new concept. Apprenticeship has been around for a long time. It has a proven track record of success. It's in industries like construction, cosmetology, automotive, healthcare, all these things. What is new is it coming to the entertainment sector. So Arts to Work brought apprenticeship to the arts media sector, and then BRIC found a couple of years ago before us, and then BRIC Foundation and their program pathways, because what we're going to talk about is um, every apprenticeship program has a sponsor. So BRIC is a registered apprenticeship program sponsor for the animation, visual effects, and gaming pathways. And so within that, there are different career paths. And so my career paths that we support are concept art, visual development, storyboard, animation, modeling, rigging, effects artist, tech artist, production management, and game design. I'm a producer. Was what I was doing before BRIC. So production management is one of my favorite ones. And so the difference between healthcare, where Kaiser can take a ton, of ophthalmology, apprentices, that's never going to be entertainment. Entertainment is they can maybe take one or two for this production here and there, type of thing. So we have to utilize an employer consortium model. So if you look at BRIC's website, you'll see a long list of employers. And we get like between 1 and 3 with an employer a year type of thing. And that's great. That's wonderful, because one of the important things about being a registered apprenticeship program sponsor is you really want to serve the industry that people are, filtering into. So what is apprenticeship? Apprenticeship is part on the job training, which is you get, for our program, it's a competency-based model. So that means that our industry advisory got together and we're like, these are the things the entry-level people need to know. And they have an entry-level wage as they're an apprentice, and they're doing on-the-job actual training. They're not getting coffee. This isn't an internship. They are receiving their training while they're working. And they're able to do that because they're getting wraparound services from the apprenticeship program sponsor. So BRIC is helping them get free training, so 144 hours of related supplemental instruction, which is like, and it's very custom, because we're not talking 200 people, we're talking about 12 to 20 people. So for example, like a specific apprentice who actually just had their last day yesterday, very sad, which, I mean, it's very wonderful and positive. I'm just going to miss talking to them all the time. So that particular apprentice needed some help with anatomy, and they needed some help with a little bit of their foundation. So with their employer, we were able to identify, man, they would be really hireable if we focused on this 1 or 2 skills. And then we were able to partner with the school that the employer thought was great, and that they wanted them to specifically take those classes. And then they were able to take those classes, and we see a big improvement in their portfolio. So every apprenticeship program is a little bit different. That is how BRIC runs it, because we are very employer centric. Some apprenticeship programs are their own employers, so they don't have to they can do it completely differently. And so Xochitl can touch a little bit on that in a bit. But that is how BRIC does things. It is very custom tailored. So that is one component. There's also external mentor. So Women in Animation and the VES Society are core partners of ours that helped us build out this program. And so they handle a lot of our mentorship. So there's like a special WIA mentorship circle that our apprentices get to attend. And then we partner with other organizations to do that mentor match. And that mentorship is great because it is also competency based. So if your employer, again, is like, I need them to work on X, the mentor then does a check-in with BRIC, and the apprentice, and then we're able to really make sure that all of their mentoring and training is getting them focused on what would make you the most hireable employee. They also, because we are LA specific, or sorry, we're California specific, but because our apprentices through our funding are registered through West LA Community College, because you have to, it's a lot of, and Michael Trogan will go into more about like the different dance that needs to be done to get all these programs funded and the different employer incentives that you can tap into. But they get free transportation. Software companies like Adobe, Maxon, and Nomen Workshop have given us, different licenses. They get free software. And there's also a lot of, I call this secret support. I don't really know. Michael, Xochitl, we should probably figure out a branding thing at some point. But what that means is we have an apprentice, it's a tech art apprentice, and she was going to show up on set and build an LED wall the next day. And she was anxious because she didn't want to show up on set and know nothing. And even though it would have been totally fine, it was just her own, what she wanted to be successful emotionally. And so we were able to get a couple of people to talk to her and kind of walk her through, like, this is how I've done this in the past. So she felt more prepared and confident to walk onto set. She was given a different assignment that required her to know a specific tool within Unreal Engine. And so it was like, oh, here's a tutorial that I found. And so we just paid for that tutorial for her. So she was able to really understand that specific tool that was keeping her from feeling confident in doing that specific project. So that is kind of what BRIC does. And then also there's a check-in, right? So you have a one-on-one check-in where we're doing long-term career counseling. There's a cohort check-in and community. And then also we just like, are you going to Lightbox Expo? Let's meet up. Are you going to San Diego Comic-Con? Let's meet up. And just constantly introducing them to the soft skills networking component. So that is our very long-winded explanation of our program. And I'd love to kick it over to Xochitl Torres.
Hi, everyone. I am Xochitl Torres. I am the program director for the Arts, Media, and Entertainment Higher Training Partnership. It's a really long title, so we call it AME-HRTP, which is the first large-scale multi-year initiative that shapes a more inclusive and diverse arts, media, and entertainment industry in California. It's led by BRIC and done in partnership with the California Workforce Development Board, and it aims to bridge training and education programs with employment with the hopes of driving economic mobility for arts, media, and entertainment underrepresented workers. AME-HRTP is a collaborative where we work together with workforce intermediaries, registered apprenticeship program sponsors, county and state government officials, research and policy partners, community-based organizations, labor unions, and education partners for recruitment and mentorship and on-the-job training to retain highly skilled talent. And I will pass it to Michael.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Trogan. I'm the Special Projects and Development Manager for the South Bay Workforce Investment Board. And I'll give you a quick spiel on what workforce investment boards are, because I know a lot of people may not be aware. We're one of 7 workforce boards in LA County and one of 45 across the state. And what we are is we are the designated local entities to provide career services, training, assisting people with barriers to get employment. Is our main focus. We're funded through the Department of Labor, the Workforce Investment Opportunity Act, and we do a whole bunch of different programs. Where we come in as my organization specifically, we started working in apprenticeship, as Nicole said, like that real traditional. We help, SoFi Stadium is in our local area, so we did a huge construction one, and we started realizing that there's non-traditional sectors such as entertainment that also have a need, and this apprenticeship model can really help, especially when you're talking about barriered, underserved, underrepresented people. A model to help them get into these various industries and sectors. So it became a natural fit of, we were already kind of doing that non-traditional apprenticeship work. We got connected with BRIC Foundation, the Entertainment Equity Alliance, and where we've kind of come in is that government, I say almost translator piece, where government programs, there's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of bureaucracy, all of those things that we have to collect that can be, especially at you as employers, can be challenging. And so kind of a role that we've taken is that administrative, trying to walk through, collect what we need and get it to the state funders and the government funders, and kind of assist employers and BRIC and like Nicole said, the sponsors and everybody learning this federal system, which is, again, not to sugarcoat, is very paperwork heavy and a lot of bureaucracy. So that's the role we're playing. On top of that, not just on supporting participants and individuals going into these programs, we also do a lot of business services. And so a lot of the role that like workforce boards play in is a big one is we do on the job training wage reimbursement. So it's an opportunity for you if you hire an apprentice that we can reimburse, it varies depending on it, but like 50% of the wages for 3 months is a type of an example of what we do. We have programs where we just pay the startup. So for the first, 150, 200 hours that a person works with you, the wages are paid by a workforce board. They call it paid work experience. We also just pay training. You have workers, and they call them incumbent workers. People are working with you that need to be upskilled so that they can move up. So like the apprenticeship program we're talking about now is not just new people. There are examples where individuals need to be upskilled so they can get better jobs, and that the government, government money can help cover the cost of that training. So if you get into one of these apprenticeship programs, training's not free. We can help cover those costs or offset those costs, so it's no cost at the employer. And then in general, workforce boards, we do just help with identifying pipelines of talent, going to underserved areas, hosting recruiting events, getting you at job fairs, trying to get potential employees in front of you as an employer, especially when you're looking at diverse underserved areas where you're tapping into those pipelines where you may not be traditionally being able to. Our centers do a lot of that as well. And then in Nicole, yeah, that secret sauce, or it's the supportive services. It is helping assist pay for transportation, work tools. People need just work uniforms, things like I need a driver's license. So somebody has to take a driver's license class to get their license, things like that we can help support. What's affecting this person not being successful in completing this apprenticeship program, their services there. And then there's just basic case management support, where staff work with them. So that's kind of an overview of what the workforce boards can do. And again, we're one of 7 in LA. There's 45 across California, and there's hundreds across every state has the same system set up. I guess
Thank you.
that's my spiel.
I love it.
There it is.
And I am going to take a moment to just answer this, because I do think we have a lot of people that are apprentices that are in this Zoom, and that is totally okay. Who, for those who applied to the last BRIC apprenticeship, is a certain time period where individuals will hear back about being considered. Yeah, so again, because entertainment is not like every January we will start production. Like it's very much like, hey, I've got a show going. Can you get me 8 candidates by next Tuesday and I'll take 2 of them? It's very much like that. So whereas if you've gotten an email from BRIC saying like, you're being considered, that means that you are in our database, which is not massive. It's because we're very we're making sure that these are people that we can place. And so with the specific roles that we have and the specific employers that we have. And so when the employer, so I have a bunch of people that in June will be hearing from us, because that's when a lot of our employers have said that they're ready to take people on for their productions. I have a lot in September as well, and there's quite a few beginning of April. So again, if you don't hear from me for a couple of months and then you gotta, what are you doing next week? Unfortunately, that's just the nature of entertainment. So I do think that as apprenticeship becomes more established within industry, we'll be able to get more into their pre-production budgets and having them thought of more versus how can we support? No, you do not have to be a student. And honestly, you should not be a full-time student, because this is a full-time job. That said, I was the full-time student that worked a full-time job. And so I had all my classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then, we was able to work around things. So you do you might not, or if you're taking a class here and there, that's great. But no, this is an alternative pathway into the industry, whether that's with or without school. And all of our employers are a little different. Like one of our employers really wanted community college kids or people that hadn't been to community college yet. Some of our employers really need those technical skills that hopefully eventually, because we're only about 1.5 years into our California schools piloting our standards, that just need a little bit more of that mileage on understanding those are very technical roles. And some of them are just portfolio based of do you have that eye? Production management, I would have to say, there's the most life skills translatable. Like there's certain things on your resume that are going to stand out even if you've never been a producer production management. We're joking about this the other day, that photography kids are actually really good at production management, because if you're doing like a photography business on the side, you are good, you have the eye, right, for like knowing what is good or what is not good. You know how to manage your own schedule, how to talk to clients, how to like make a deadline. You understand a lot of those scheduling components. Are you the oldest? I'm the oldest of six. Like there's a lot of management that comes into having big families. Are you the person that loves spreadsheets and going on? Are you the one that organizes the trips, right? Like if y'all are going on a vacation or a wedding or whatever that is, are you the one that's telling everybody where to go and when? So even though you might not have gone to formal training to be production management, having enough of that core way that you view the world, and that translates to a lot of the concept art visual development pieces as well, because you might not be able to go to a fancy art school, which is fine. I went, you don't, that's not necessary. What is necessary is your portfolio. So if you are doing all these things online, because you could teach yourself just about anything on YouTube, right? So if your portfolio is there, that's really all that matters, other than being able to have the soft skills and ability to talk to people and interview well, which is also a supportive service that BRIC does. Before you meet with any employer, BRIC has gone through and done a pre-screening. A lot of what that pre-screening is you telling me your story and your resume, and us filtering it back together of how to position yourself in the interview for this particular job. It is very hard. We are all a conglomeration of unique experiences. And so it can be hard to edit your experience in a way that is the most presentable to employers. And so that's something that we try to help people do. Is there a certain age? No, there's not a certain age, but we are a nonprofit that relies on funding, and our funding really targets 18 to 24. Technically 16 to 24, but employers are not looking to hire 16-year-olds currently with our employer consortium. Or you need to be a veteran. The UK is doing something really fascinating right now. They're doing senior apprenticeship. I really want to move into senior apprenticeship because a lot of women specifically get stuck in that mid-level role. And I think senior apprenticeship would be a way to like really break those barriers. Like there's only 3 women of color CG supervisors in the entire world. I think there's actually 5 now since that research came out, but like that would be something that a senior apprenticeship could really solve, that equity component, whether it's gender or racial or whatever that may be, right? Socioeconomically disadvantaged. So I think that if you are an employer interested in doing that, please let us know. And are they usually announced? Yes. When are they announced? We do it once a year. Please subscribe to our newsletter and follow us on Instagram. Opportunities for people outside of US or Canada. The UK, again, really invests heavily in the apprenticeship model. And it's just, and again, this is a California program. We are California focused. We are looking to expand. We're in the middle of expanding, I should say, to Washington and Georgia. We have New York partners, one of the best time to apply for apprenticeships. We do an open call in November. Great. That said, are there any online options? Like, are there remote work? Yes. It is, again, it is a situation where it depends on the employer. A lot of places, some of our employers don't actually have an office. They just is a kind of like remote work, and everybody is just remote, so that doesn't really matter. And that's also why our program is statewide. So we have some Bay Area humans as well that are technically working with Southern California employers, and that's fine. It just really depends on, is an employer hybrid? Is an employer back in person full time? Or will they always be remote because that's the nature of their work? Cool. Eligibility. Yes, thank you, Xochitl. That said, the employers don't necessarily need to be in California if they are doing remote work. So if you are an employer elsewhere, we're able to do that as well. Cool. And would you suggest an apprenticeship for students? Do you think an apprenticeship during the summer could be possible or beneficial? It is 1080 hours, so it's 6 months. So it is not possible to do an apprenticeship just over the summer. And So I would not necessarily recommend that. It is not a summer internship. There are specific training programs. Michael, Xochitl, could y'all talk to maybe some really cool training programs that would be available?
Off the top of my head, it's pre-apprenticeship programs would be great for students. We're in my area and in LA, we're focused at the high school levels with the academy pathways and doing the pre-apprenticeship training. So the majority are in an academy that's focused on the entertainment industry, and we're doing the pre-apprenticeships to build up so that when November opens up, there's all these applications. We want them to have some base skills to be competitive, because when you are competing with a community college or even a four-year student, it can be different. Actually, you're even getting adults applying for the apprenticeship. So we are doing it at that level. There are some other people starting up pre-apprenticeship in this area. Again, this is a very new, very new to this industry. So off the top of my head, maybe Xochitl knows some, but ours are focused mostly at the high school, and then we have a few at the community colleges. But as this expands, you will see pre-apprenticeship programs, which are the perfect one for students that aren't ready for full-time work to start doing. Those are usually online, virtual. They're not super time commitments. They might be 100 hours versus the 2,000, that type of stuff. But yeah, unfortunately, of my knowledge, everything is really based at certain schools. If you know some high school kids that are interested and are in the LA area, we could tell them what schools have really good academies. Not that we want to people encourage them to switch schools, but there are some really cool programs and actually amazing academies. It's the stuff work at some of these high schools are doing is as advanced as our colleges now in this industry for sure. But I'll turn over Xochitl. I don't know if you know of any specific ones.
Yeah, I mean, I can't highlight anything specific right off the top of my head, but I will suggest that people access the Entertainment Equity Alliance website because there are a lot of career exploration, mentorship, and training programs out there, and people can access. And then as part of the High Road Training Partnership, we do work a lot with community-based organizations and with unions, with the labor unions. And so there are a lot of other mentorship, professional development, career development programs through those that could eventually lead to apprenticeship program or any type of placement opportunity within the entertainment industry.
Yes, and I will say, whereas pre-apprenticeship is a very like structured, formal thing, and actually I'm really excited about a program that we're going to be doing with the South Bay Web in Inglewood this summer. We're actually going to be running an animation studio at Inglewood Unified School District. And there will be teams, industry employers, and they'll be doing on-the-job training. And Michael will be, do you want to talk a little bit about how the logistics of that will work?
Yeah. So like Nicole said, BRIC is working with the school and the academy or the pathway at that school, and they've designed the animation studio to run. Where we've come in is we're helping do the structure of like collecting, because when you're registered pre-apprenticeship with the state of California, you have to submit paperwork and updates on how these people are completing. So we're going to help the school with that part. And then we're also going to pay stipends for the students as they complete. So as they complete certain sections and certain competencies, they'll get a stipends throughout that. So they're actually gonna get paid for their experience as well.
Yeah, and we do have a couple of things. I know that I have some people from our team in the chat. We have a pre-apprenticeship speaker series that is very careers focused. It is free. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. You can attend. You can have, if you're a teacher or if you're in class during those times, you can have your teacher attend as well. And because a lot of the people who's attending are just teachers in classrooms across the US. So please do that. Another thing that we've done for pre-apprenticeship programs is part of HRTP is we're partnering with community colleges to do boot camps. So they'll basically, whether it's Santa Monica Community College, we're doing a VFX nuke boot camp where you're going to be working on a portfolio piece. We have one that we're working with ELAC on that's animation focused. Same with West LA. So it's like what we're doing is you can do this like 6-week summer intensive boot camp for pre-apprenticeship to help you work on that portfolio to help, whether that's to get a job or to matriculate into an apprenticeship. It's choose your own adventure, but we realized that there was a lack of portfolio driven things since portfolio is the main way that you're getting a job in this industry. And another thing that we would like to talk about with that. Oh no, I felt it slipping as I was talking. I'm going to keep stalling and it will come back. Oh, Pre-apprenticeship, oh yes, so a lot of the there we go, came back. So pre-apprenticeship really is high school specific. So our pre-apprenticeship districts that we work with are Centinela Valley Unified School District and Inglewood Unified School District, and we do have some of our LAUSD schools that we've been working with since 2018. And that looks a little bit different everywhere, but it's not really scalable. So one of the things we really wanted to focus on was scalability. So people overseas or people in different states were able to have industry access. And so we're actually launching digital badging. And so digital badging takes those apprenticeship competencies, it puts it into a format where you're able to upload that portfolio piece. And then we have a team of industry recruiters that are awarding those badges to you. And we have been working on talking to studios for the past couple of years, explaining that, and they helped us, obviously do the standards, and they approved the badging. So this is going to be one of those first, if you're in Ohio, if you're in wherever, and you have been awarded this badge by industry, you can put it on your LinkedIn, put it on your resume. So that way, even though you might not be able to physically, regionally be in California, one of our pre-apprenticeship schools, you're still getting that same level of industry feedback. And so that is something that will be live, I think, today, if not Tuesday, when we're all back, because it has been an intense couple of days. So that is a scalable way for those of you that are not in California to be a part of this program. And okay, I'm just looking at some of these Q&A conversations. So with the being blunt person in the Q&A, what industry, can you be a little bit more specific? If you could +1, are you talking about animation specifically, or are you talking about live action? Because I just want to make sure that you kind of, so one of the things specifically with animation is there are different groups that are part of like the Animation Advocacy Coalition, like Latinx in animation, Black in animated, diverse toons, Asian animation, Asian queens in animation, women in animation. And so with a lot of these, I'm Legends Animated and Diverse Tunes and Rise Up Animation, and I'm missing one, and that's going to bother me all day, but know that that's not intentional that I left off one. And so just making sure that you're joining a part of these groups. And I see the two. Yes, perfect. I'm making sure that, so if you are not a member of Black and Animated, I really recommend engaging with them. They do a lot of networking events. Rise Up Animation has a really good mentorship, and the reason to do those things, and they're virtual, is that mentor might hire you. I know a couple of alumni mentees that have been hired by their mentors. That's not a guarantee, obviously. It really depends on the specific person, the specific mentor, and there's lots of random things with that. But the more organizations that you can network with, because I have never gotten a job that someone didn't refer me to. That's just unfortunately how it is, right? And then where I met those people, whether it's a taco stand, a coffee shop, Lightbox Expo, San Diego Comic-Con. My friends would always joke because I literally got clients at my bachelorette party in Vegas. I've gotten clients floating down a river and shouting out phone numbers, right? Like, so it is, networking is a lifestyle, right? But please, putting yourself in as many places as possible are important.
This isn't related at all to apprenticeship programs. I just want to say how amazing you are, Nicole, and I want to be like you when I grow up.
Thank you. No, it's thank you, Xochitl. I love you very much. Thank you for being part of the team. We're very lucky to have you. Okay, I love you. Okay, anyways, so apprenticeship is paid. Michael, could you take that one in the Q&A?
Yes. So there was a question of the apprenticeship is paid, you're doing classroom training. So apprenticeships are a combination of classroom training and on-the-job work-based learning. It depends on the employer and the model. Sometimes that classroom training is front loaded and you do all, 140 or whatever hours that your apprenticeship requires. And generally that's not paid. But some employers, it's you do, 30 hours a week of work and 10 hours a week of school of the classroom. So you can't directly answer that without knowing that employer's direct model, but they do both. Sometimes it's front loaded. Other times employers are expected to cover that wage while they're in, still you get paid for 40 hours and it's broken out of actual work and classroom work. So I guess it's not a full answer, but it depends, but it works both ways.
And I do recommend coming to the 2 p.m. apprenticeship program because you'll hear from not just BRIC, and everybody's program is different. Everybody's journey is different. I love what KeyCode is doing because KeyCode is actually their own employer, which I think is really cool because then you can actually control the cohort size and all those things, right? So I think that would it be really cool if BRIC had an animation studio that I could employ everybody in? Absolutely. Would that kill me? 100%. So I think it's just everybody does have those programs slightly different.
And also, some are competency-based models and not hours. And so you can actually shorten the length of your apprenticeship program if you come in with skills and trainings and go into that. And so that can also kind of reduce that length of time you're doing, or mean that you're doing, if you're coming in with competencies, that means you're doing more work, on the job work versus the classroom training component. Again, it varies. Everyone is radically different because it's very employer centric. So you build it around what, that employer need is.
Yes. And then I'm just typing way too many orgs. I realized one of the ones that I left off was actually my other org, Concept Art Association. If you are a live action concept artist, or even, and we do have a lot of animation as well, there's a mentorship program. It's like $50 because you're getting a year-round mentorship and it's a cohort method. I don't run that program because obviously it's a conflict of interest, but people love it. You get a live Discord server. So if you're an international person, a lot of our international people are able to talk to LA-based concept artists through that kind of program because the international can be that barrier. Inglewood. Tiana, email me if you're an Inglewood person wanting to give back because we're definitely going to need help in person in Inglewood running that studio.
I already
Oh,
claimed.
perfect.
I was already side messaging. Yep. But yeah, please email, and anybody in the chat, if you want to, we always guest speakers, mentors, advisory board. If you're an employer and some site visits, or even like we're doing virtual site tours, where we're getting on an iPhone and showing students what the workplace looks like, all of that kind of good stuff. Yeah, please reach out because we're trying to build the pipeline as young as we can and build it up and expose as many people as we can at the high school. And actually now I'm getting some middle school. We're still starting to push even into there. So really trying to build the pipeline. So please, if you are able and want to work with young people, reach out, feel free. I'll put my email in the chat as well. We are always, at least in my area, sorry, I am limited to my area, but Nicole would have the bigger reach as well.
And I'm putting our contact email in the chat. We all share that inbox. So especially because it's summit mode, but yeah, so just so you don't get lost. Volunteering, yes, lots of opportunities. LA Promise Fund is an amazing partner of ours. We love them. And we also hire their interns every year as well. What else we got going on here? Is there anything from the Q&A that we have not answered?
There was the question about seeing a list of BRIC apprentices. Don't know if you could talk about that.
Yeah. Can someone on the team that's in this chat, can we put a link to our impact report there? Because we did showcase some of our current apprentices. They're not obligated to talk to you though. They are like humans with their own lives. But like definitely by all means, you can check out their Instagram and their journeys. You should definitely hire them. They're wonderful. Aunt Q does a lot of tabling at conventions. So they just did Emerald City Comic Con, which is great because I got to meet up with them. And yeah, so anyways, a lot of these people do table. And then at Lightbox Expo this year, cannot say enough wonderful things about Lightbox Expo. Full disclosure, I'm on the board. But with that, it is a great place. And we're going to be sharing a booth. So you can come and talk to a lot of the apprentices there. You can come talk to a lot of these advocacy orgs there. There's a bunch of panels. And it's also lots of really amazing portfolio reviews, similar to BRIC. The portfolio reviews will open about a month or two prior to the event. And so make sure you sign up because they're first come, first serve, but they're really good. People come to hire at Lightbox. It's a wonderful time. And you obviously can still wander around the show floor to the different employer booths and ask for an impromptu portfolio review. We actually will do closer to Lightbox Expo, a free, it's kind of awkward, but people really liked it. So we're going to keep doing it. we did mock conversations for people. Cause like a lot of times artists are really introverted and it can be hard to just walk up to someone and be like, hi, please look at my art and hire me. Right. So we like to do some kind of like mock conversations with this, and make sure that you have your portfolio downloaded, but you could apply that not just for Lightbox Expo, you could apply that for anything in life. And it's funny because I actually heard from a lot of artists. I think there was a script that was going around because I had a lot of kids come up to me and use the same thing, which is obviously like, say hello, be nice, comment on the artwork that you're seeing, look them up ahead of time. It's really important whenever you're going to any type of convention, look at who's exhibiting in Artist Alley, target people that you actually think are interesting, right? And that you follow their art so you can say something genuine about them. And then you're like, hi, I see it. And like, obviously use your social cues. Does this booth have a long line? Probably not the best time to ask for a portfolio review. Be like, hi, do you have any time to go look at my portfolio? Or is it okay if I come back a different time? 50% of the time they'll say yes, 50% or 30% of the time they might have you come back, 20% they might just be like, I'm really tired, or I'm really like, whatever. But so much of it is a network, is a numbers game. If you get one rejection, not a big deal because you're asking 20 people, right? So it's just important to keep yourself up, be kind. Nobody owes you anything, right? Like this is all just kindness and, soft skills, which really should not be soft skills. They are essential skills because nothing is more collaborative than entertainment. You cannot do any of these things alone. I mean, you can if you're like on a really small scale, like the writer and director and that whatever, right? Of whatever project. But in order for that project to be the best that it can be, you cannot do it alone. And so just making sure that you are prioritizing those soft skills, networking, having a conversation, being able to read someone, right? Of like, oh, this person looks tired or busy, or oh, this person is really interested, and like kind of matching that energies are all really important parts of the job. Yes, do
And
not
can I
take.
add,
Yes.
Nicole, because in Universal, not just this industry, we do tons of job and resource fairs. People rush to the biggest, sexiest name in the room. And a lot of times those companies are only there to market and, really do PR work. Look at those small vendors, those small organizations. They're the ones that, one is they have time and they appreciate it. Because again, nothing more demoralizing to sit next to Disney with a line out the room and nobody's at your booth, type of thing. And so that's where you're gonna get FaceTime. That's where networking really happens. Don't ignore. And then also, sometimes you go and there's like who's hiring, but there's other resources. Hit those other resources because now it's another person in your corner that's also advocating for you, trying to help connect and network with you. So don't ignore those. Like when you go to these events, that's the biggest piece is just go and put yourself out there. But when you're there, yeah, like don't get dead set on, I want to talk to these 3 employers. Look what's in the room, figure it out, see things that you would have never thought of. Those are what leads to. I mean, I can't say how many times like we've had a small mom and pop shop that would hire somebody on the spot if they met the right person, and all that person sitting in line again to be one of the 120 people that talk to the Disney booth, or whoever else is in there. That's the biggest name in the room, or Sony or Warner. So that'd be my advice, and that kind of goes across the board for all sectors, all of these fairs. Like put yourself out there, but like Nicole said, read the room, see who's there, see who's available. Even just the advice that they can give you is so valuable at that point.
And don't fight them on the advice. If you're asking for a portfolio review and you don't agree with what they've just said, there is a line between clarifying and establishing, well, this was the intention behind what this was, or this is what I was trying to convey. But like, don't argue with them on that, right? Like just be like, okay, type of thing. So just that line between clarification versus conflict. Yeah. And then I guess I don't know. Is there anything else we want to cover on early career introvert networking?
I guess I just wanted to highlight that the great thing about some of these career exploration programs and training programs is that it's not only training on the hard skills. Is that what it is? Soft skills, hard skills, right? Sounds a little weird when I say it. It's not just about the hard skills and the hands-on. It's also about learning to develop some of those soft skills training and learning how to talk to people, learning how to give and receive feedback. And a lot of our organizations do some of those trainings. And that would just be a really, really great skills to be able to grow in and excel.
Yeah, I think it keeps like, I keep having a thought and it keeps going away. So maybe if I keep stalling, it will come back. Oh yes. How I view life, which is a very dramatic way to say what I'm about to say, but I imagine that like I am here today because of very specific people at key moments of my life have lifted me up. And there's reasons why those people have lifted me up, and a lot of it predates, you know, relationship or just kindness or moment, or some of it is just chance, you know, like, and so I think that, or like you say something smart that clicked with them or whatever that might be, right? And so I am very aware of who has lifted me up. And so because of that, I think it's our job, everybody's job, no matter who you are, no matter where you are in your career, where you are in your education journey, you should always be pulling up people behind you. And so my husband laughs because a couple of hours of my week each week are just meeting with random people that have messaged me on LinkedIn, meeting with people that have been, you know, former interns. At the end of each semester, I get the onslaught of this is what I've been up to this semester, you know, people that I've been working with since ninth grade at this point that are now about to graduate college. And it's just like, it is time that I think is important. I think it's important that you're always, you know, and then also at the other end, there are people today that are still pulling me up, right? Like, Entertainment Equity Alliance is full of really strong, get shit done other orgs, and they inspire me and push me to be better and to grow and to feel like there's more rooms I'm allowed in. And so life is just kind of this like long mentorship chain that we are a part of. And so I think that it's just important here that even if you think you're just at the beginning of your journey, maybe there's a middle school kid, maybe there's whatever, like you could just be giving you always know more than someone on something. And so how are you using that to help? And that's my view on mentorship and the importance of all those things. Xochitl, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit of your journey, because you have a really interesting journey with all the programs and how you've been able to leverage those. Would you feel comfortable sharing?
Yeah, just before that, I do want to answer a question that Pat asked about an animation organization for Native Americans, and there is. So I'm going to put Barsid Foundation. They have a Native American animation lab, and it's really a great opportunity. They're part of EEA, they're part of the Higher Ed Training Partnership, so highly recommend that. I just put this information about their lab in the chat. Sarah, what was the question about my journey?
You're an alumni of programs. How did you
Yeah.
leapfrog them?
Yes. Oh gosh. So I grew up in Burbank, California, which is like the center of entertainment. That's where all the studios and the production companies were or are. None of my family is in entertainment whatsoever, but my dad moved there and was like, I want my child to work in this industry and we're going to make it happen somehow. So my dad was a freelance videographer and photographer at the time, just to make a little extra money on the side. And so very early on, I got my hands on a camera, and it was like one of those dinosaur cameras that was cassette tape. And so I started making like movies with my friends, and I started doing photography, and I thought I wanted to work as a director of photography or a cinematographer in some way in production. Didn't really know how to get into the industry. So I was looking up on Google one time. I think I was a junior in high school, and I was looking up like how to break into the industry or something, and I came across the LA Promise Fund website, and they had an internship program. Didn't know what that was, but I applied. And I remember specifically my parents were trying to leave somewhere, and I was like, wait a minute, wait, I need to submit my application. And they were like, oh, she's crazy, she doesn't even know what she's doing, this is probably a scam. My parents didn't believe in any of that. But lo and behold, I got the internship, and I started at a talent agency actually. So I was in the mailroom, and that was an experience, being surrounded by a lot of college kids and recently graduated people. And I was the youngest one there, and so it was a lot. But I learned a lot from that experience. And then from there, in Burbank and in the Los Angeles County, Warner Brothers had this internship called the Reach Internship Program, or Honorship Program, which was 4 consecutive summers at the studio, and they were paid while you were attending a 4-year university. And so I applied, I interviewed, and I got in. And so for 4 summers at the company, I was interning in different marketing departments because that's what I thought I wanted to do. I went to Cal State Long Beach and I was studying film, but then while I was on sets, I realized that I did not like the freelance life and I needed more stability in my life. And so I decided to switch my major to business marketing. And I thought that I wanted to go the route of social media. And so I did a lot of my internships within digital marketing and all of that. In addition to interning at Warner Brothers, I interned at NBC. And then I also interned at a credit bureau, which was different from what I was used to, but I think it really helped me learn about financial literacy and how important it is to be financially educated. And with all of those experiences, I thought I was going to do social media marketing, but I quickly got burned out and I was no longer feeling like I was really making a change in the industry. I felt that the people who were making the decisions were more in like business development or in production development. And then I discovered this new department called Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, which really felt like the game changers in the room. And so I transitioned my career into learning more about DEI, and I was able to build pipeline programs while I was at Warner Brothers. So we worked a lot with above the line talent, so writers and directors, and building programs for them. And I had the opportunity to actually build a children's animation writing program in Mexico, which then expanded to the rest of Latin America. And that was a really great opportunity. And then this opportunity came up at BRIC, which kind of melded everything that I am passionate about, which was building programs, advocating for more accessibility and for more inclusivity within the entertainment industry. And there's a lot of other pieces in that, like government and education, that I'm still learning, but I'm really happy where I'm at right now. Is that good?
Thank you. I love it. And I do think it's worth mentioning that how I met Xochitl is she was such an amazing employee that an intern, that people came out of the woodwork to say how much they loved working with her and how much that she was like this is the person that you need to be working with. So she made such a high impact personally and professionally that like it was a no-brainer. But yes. Michael, anything you wanted to add to your journey? Or I don't know actually how you ended up here. I know you
well, I'll say I moved out to California, had been working nonprofit work for years, came from Michigan, worked the city of Detroit, had a very strong resume, but when you switch states, it's very difficult. My wife got a job at Disney. That's why I kept bringing them up. I wasn't picking on them. That just triggered my mind. But we moved out and I didn't have a job here, even though I had 15 years management experience, nonprofit work, all of this. 6 months throwing in resumes, couldn't get anything. I took a 3-month temporary job to cover for somebody that was on maternity leave, and kind of that putting yourself out there and taking that chance. And now it's 6.5 years later. I've grown in this organization, worked the way up. But sometimes, that frustration barrier, we were trying to move out here for probably 3 to 4 years before we even moved out. And so kind of that perseverance of sometimes you just got to put yourself out there, take those things. A lot of times people have this vision of the job they want. And sometimes you got to look at what do you need to do to get you to that job you want. And you can't go into that job. Your dream job you don't get to your dream job right the first day out of college or, after you apply. And so kind of that perseverance really of, sometimes you got to put yourself out there, trust in yourself that you're going to prove it, put them in there. Yeah, like I said, I took a 3-month temporary job because I wasn't even getting interviews. I don't know how many people in here looking for jobs. You can send out 100 resumes. You don't even get emails back now, let alone rejection emails. It's just, you hear nothing. And so kind of that was my journey there. And again, I did the whole nonprofit out of college for years and years. You would think coming in, I should have been into in my mind, I'm a senior level manager, I'm executive level management. Those are the jobs I'm going to apply for. And at some point I had to step back and say, different state, different partners, different people. How am I going to figure this out and really step back? I talked, I worked in workforce development, and I didn't go to the workforce development board in my new city. And in my mind, I'm like, why didn't I think of that? Again, building that network, like Nicole said, who who you talk to, getting those interviews, and it doesn't have to be personal. Like I said, there's these programs, these partnerships, these nonprofits, like part of their job or part of their existence is to help you build a network that you didn't have because of access and equity and all those things that you grow up in the industry in a wealthy area. Those connections are given to you, and so a lot of look at those community organizations that are trying to help recreate those networks for people that don't have the privilege of just being handed those networks. And so that's what that would be kind of my advice is bet on yourself too.
I love that. Yeah, it is very hard to like just cold apply to
Yeah.
things. Like I don't like to say this part of my story because it brings me shame, but it should not, because thank you for sharing that. Before launching my freelance career, because I was working in-house at a gaming studio, I quit and needed to do some family caregiving for a bit in there. And then I was like, okay, yeah, I'll be able to go apply back at my level, right? And so I just cold applied because I didn't want to leverage my network because it required simplifying my resume down. Because if you know me, I have lived many career lives and they all make sense to me, but they don't make sense to recruiting software and a recruiter that's looking for a very specific thing. And I hadn't learned yet how important it is to edit your resume to exactly the job that you're applying to be. And so that's not lying. It's just emphasizing the experience that you've had as it pertains, because you're making it so the recruiter can see what you're seeing, right? I applied to over 300 jobs cold because I was ashamed that I was struggling because I had had something fall through that I really thought was going to work out. And I didn't leverage my network. I didn't edit my resume. I wasn't in a place where I could receive that help of like, you need to simplify your story. So that's why when I'm talking to apprentices and people, one of the first things I do is help them learn how to simplify their story so they can get that job. And as soon as I shifted, um, like, okay, I need to actually like, okay, I'm gonna go freelance. I'm just gonna go freelance because I was just like, I'm the type of person that when my company shut down because gaming studios closed for the holidays, I started an Etsy store. Like I don't have hobbies. I just work, right? So like I just started like hustling and then from there I end up basically just like giving up on I'm going to go in-house and be a very specific cog in a large machine. And instead I'm going to be more freelance and leverage the parts of me that may bring me joy. And then I had a very successful marketing freelance career for entertainment properties with clients like Niantic and Baobab and IMB Collective because of that. But I think also I needed to really accept that in order to get that job, you need to make yourself a little smaller or a little more simple in order to kind of plug in. And you can do that. And some people that's great because that's what they wanted, but it was definitely not my long-term path for success. I joke that I'm not housebroken anymore, because I really enjoy working the 3 jobs that I do and all the people that I get to work with. But like it was a long journey to like come to that. So just cold applying doesn't always work. And if it's not working, sometimes you just need to either like, yes, take that maternity job, yes, take that job from the taco stand, or just really talk to someone that's a stranger and be like, does my resume make sense to you? Does my story make sense to you? Because sometimes your friends might not want to tell you the truth, right? So just, I don't know, just if things are not working, really look at why.
Simplify your resume,
Yes.
please.
It
I
hurts.
can't tell you how many like 6, 7 page resumes and when I see that, it's an instant flag of like, there's a lot of fluff in here. There's not a lot of, I mean, as somebody that is regularly recruiting, hiring, reviewing resumes, they're getting hundreds of review. They're going to appreciate direct to the point, simplified information. Really, I mean, honestly, I'm not reading all this. What's that? Too long? Didn't read the TLDR. Yeah, I mean, it'll be appreciated. You're not. There's not some random task that you did at this job that you forgot to put on your resume that's going to stop you from getting that job. You know, as long as you're hitting the core things, it's not gonna be like, oh, I should have added that. I should have added that one little thing. Honestly, it's not there. As long as you're hitting the core of what the job duties are and your resume is capturing work that is translate to that. Sure.
Yes. And just again, you need to tailor your resume for the jobs you're applying for. I hope my 300 cold applies with a really intense, confusing resume can prove that to you. Like it's just have 4 different resumes if you're applying to different jobs, right? There's ways to not let go of your experience if you're proud of it. But yes, simplify, customize, all the things. Thank you so much, Michael and Xochitl, for improving this panel. It took a different turn, but I liked it. So thank you. I hope you all liked it. Just thank you. I'm very, very happy to have you both in my life and to partner in this work with you.
Absolutely.
Likewise,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and for those of you in the chat, there's lots of different programming. So at 2 p.m., there's going to be an employer apprentice Q&A with all the different programs. Please come. There's so much content happening all day long. It's totally okay for you to jump in and out of different programming throughout the day. If something isn't for you, we tried to color code it based upon industry and audience. So just please check it out, have fun, and thank you for being a part of the BRIC Summit. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.
You.